Hey everyone, welcome to my video today. This is part 2 to the Johnny Hobo book that I was reading the other day, The Poetry of Pat, aka The Bunny. And that was written by a group of dudes that just went together and wanted to show a little bit of passion, collect some information instead of have like a Wikipedia and stuff for like what's going on with Pat. They just threw it in this one book, a yellow book that looks like this. This is the book itself, folk punk literary style. And as you can see, just so everyone can get recognition, it's narrated by Chirag Patel. And it says narrated because, and I'm going to be redundant in this, same as the last video, for all those who haven't seen the other one, and this is just something that they're seeing now. It was recorded, and you can actually listen to that on another streaming website as well too. So that's in the audiobook itself. You can go and download that for like $1 or $2 or whatever. It's probably free. This one I got for like $6. I'm like, wow, for clout, I can just put it on my shelf and pretend they look cool. The premise of today's video, compared to the other one, which is for all those who haven't seen that video, see that first. Get an idea of going out there and buying this book itself, instead of going in there and sort of let me explain what's going on a little bit more in detail, because as we all wonder what's going on with Pat the Bunny, and not all of us want to spend hours and hours on the internet to try to figure it out. And it seems vague, like what's been going on with Pat. We all know that Pat has went to become like a Buddhist. Like, we don't really know how much of that is like true, but there is actually stuff that's written about that by Pat themselves, so that other people can go and check that out at their own time. And I mean, like, Pat doesn't want to be a sellout, so you can go download any of the Johnny Hobo and the Freight Train music, anything that Pat has put out and that has allowed to, with some like free rights act or whatever for the American people all over the world, can just download it and listen to it for free. Now, Pat had a troubling childhood and youth for a little bit, and we don't really know everything in the back end of that or why it seems to be the way that it is. It seems like generally, like everyone else, we all have these just normal childhoods, and then whatever, for one reason or another, good or bad, we just end up going in one place or another. Like, it's just the way life works. Like, it's not perfect. Maybe there's like a way that the universe works to pull things into a direction that makes sense, and that would also say that no matter where you are in life, that you're in a place that is where you're meant to be. But you just can't look at it like, that's where I'm meant to be, and be like, you know what, I'm not going to change my life whatsoever. Now, for everyone, even the greatest heroes, they need to change every now and then. For those people that go out there and steal from their friends, do a lot of illicit materials inside of themselves, and try to get rid of the negative feelings inside, or just try it, just to be like, hey, look, I don't care what other people think, authority figures, this and that. Maybe taking it to an extreme where something goes inside of your life and now you have trouble getting it out, aka like a drug addiction, or aka living with like a bad family member and just like saying that I have to live there forever. You're becoming used to it. You're not making changes in your life. You're just set in a box, and you're not willing to, like, you know, check out the other toys in different parts of the boxes. And sometimes it's more difficult, especially if you've done something so deep and so ingrained in yourself. Now it's like rewired your brain. You know, you went in that direction. And the reason I say this is because spoilers are going to happen throughout this video. Of course, it's probably something that we've all wondered a little bit more about. And that's one of the reasons to get this book for clout. Not just that, it'll show Pat growing up through the idea of his songs. And when he's hitting the teenage years, like, you know, 16, 17, 18, 19, making music, whatever. You know, Pat was just a teenager. Like, if you're like 38 years old and you're like believing that Pat the Bunny, right, aka Johnny Hobo, is like some type of god tier animal that just like, you know, figured out the answer to life. I mean, the passion in the structure of what Pat has been throwing out there, even not as like the best singer, but I would say otherwise, that Pat is a fantastic, phenomenal singer, because the way that they say things is like a structured sentence, which it is. If you read each of the literary documents that show the poetry of the literary art of Pat the Bunny, and it shows how important it is to look deep into detail with that. It shows in detail in the literary art that Pat has put in there in the poetry, the words and the such put into play, how important it is to actually understand stuff in Pat's life. Like, there was one time, for an example, where a guy came up to me. He's like, "Hey man, do you need a ride?" And I'm like, "Well, nah man, your car is a part of the system, and when I'm in your car, you're a part of the system." You know what I mean? So it's saying that that guy's a part of the system. And then the guy's like, "Well, you know what? I have a gun, and I'm gonna effing kill you." So the guy, or whoever the punk guy is, probably Pat in this sense, it sort of went out in like some type of stupor inside of my own brain, just like coagulating things and mixing in the abstracts of the poetic art, trying to figure out which side is the people that actually like tried to write the book. Maybe they're putting a couple of thoughts in. I don't know if that's their story or where this came from, but the idea that Pat would just go out there and say, "Look man, you know, when the guy says to Pat like, I have a gun and I'm gonna effing kill you," Pat's like, "Well, I don't care and I don't give a fuck." And then he says, "That's because I'm punk rock anarchy," right? It's like saying, big screw you to everyone in life. I'll do whatever I want to. I'm not a part of any system that people are making me a part of. And that is good in the sense that you don't want to be controlled by people around you in the ways that they might be saying like, you know, you have to do these things. Like, you even do that to yourself sometimes. You can see that in some people. They do things they don't want to do. It's incongruent with how they want to live. I understand that, you know, growing up and seeing things that may be chaotic and then overturn that a little bit more. Like, for an example, like growing up in Pat's eye view, you could say that the drug abuse and all that came into his life, shooting up and doing all those illicit materials, alcohol, cigarettes, whatever else, you know, those are major drugs and they still affect people today. And many people are having a struggle and a hard time getting off of them until something really big were to happen. People start dying around you. You realize you're the only one left in the parking lot, curb, remembering back to February about the trip to Hartford. And all these people dying, you're stealing from your friends, and your friends are so pissed off at you. And even the last little bit of Pat saying that, like, look, like, I've ripped off my friends, I've done a lot of horrible shit to them, is really awful, because it shows the things in life can bring you to these dark places, but then like changing it around and helping people out, even if people don't want to forgive you, like, you're still pushing out there, you're doing your best that you can for them, and you know that these things need to be done. Minding, you know, my own business when Pat is poor and his friends most likely were poor at the same time. Going out there and working their job, whatever it was, some type of part-time, full-time job at like some McDonald's or KFC, or they're just trying to make a couple of extra bucks out. Maybe they're like spanging, like spare changing. That's the word that they used in this book. I thought it was pretty cool. And it's like an old terminology of panhandling and like going out there and just trying to cop a couple of bucks from some chumps that are like willing to give you a couple of dollars. Nowadays, a couple of dollars is like nothing though. Like, homeless people have like, right now, and where I am anyways, wherever you are, that might be different, but homeless people are asking for like at least like $5 now. Like, we used to think like a couple of dollars was good to help them out for like their $10 crack addiction, and hopefully they're gonna buy that sandwich to keep themselves alive, and obviously they're not going to. You know, our false hope can actually bring us down a little bit, and I believe that maybe in this book that the ideology that you go out there and actually not do things that you shouldn't do or don't want to, that are incongruent with who you are, would make sense. So I believe whatever Pat did made sense at the time, but there's always a changing moment where it makes sense to have that structure inside of your life of changing still. Pat was in control until there was a point where it's like not in control anymore, and it's like, you know, that's, I guess maybe that's when he started to realize that he's not like really that punk rock anymore and wanted to like change a little bit. You know, there's probably a part of him where his heart's beating the size of his fist, so the keep on loving and stuff, you know what I mean? So yeah. And fun fact with the I think it's called the Probably Nothing, Probably Something album he made. I've listened to a lot of their music over and over again. Like, I had my time where I'll go into this for part 3 of what I did, why I speak about Pat so strongly, is that the feeling that you can go out there and have that determination in yourself can also be a false sense of something, and like you feel like you're a part of something when you're really not still. Like, you gotta go out there and do something else. Like, it's a tough world out there. Like, I mean, doing drugs, stealing, watching your friends die, having your parents get upset at you, and, you know, going out there and becoming like a Buddhist monk is something that really looked into Pat's eyes, reading books and all that. Communism and stuff, you know, there's a bunch of communist books out there. Like, we can talk about Karl Marx all day, the Marxist and stuff, but yeah, really, that's like everything you want to know about Pat, like what's going on with Pat's life or whatever. It was sort of vague and like disappeared. I guess like it was just a pretty straightforward life that Pat had. Went out there, you know, did regular kid stuff and was against people, but not to the point where it was like, maybe it was hatred. I don't really know like how strong that went. Like, anarchy goes to an extent, and just like everyone, it's like, you know, Pat would say that people will go out there and like take down things and destroy and like kill, and like that's not really the idea that he wants to like get out there anymore. Like, he's seen a lot of bad stuff happen reading about stuff, you know. It's the books helped him out a lot anyways, like figure out what's going on, especially if you're like some type of loner kid that sits in their bedroom. You know, there were no friends left, like, you know what I mean? Like, things are just fucking crazy with Pat the Bunny. I would just go cop this book just because you can, to say it. It's really easy to read, like just flipping through it. Maybe I can just like go like this for a second and show everyone. Like, half the book is like nothing. Like, it's just literary art. Like, good pieces like taken out of Pat's musical career. From all the bands, all the people that he's worked with, the collabs and everything. And actually like figured out in each piece of them what they're about. It like says like little individual parts, like where Pat will actually say like, this is how I felt then, and that's what was going on with that story. Anyways, yeah, thanks for watching. This video went on way too effing long, and have a fantastic day. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. Check out my other videos, and you know, keep the punk movement going in the most positive direction. Remember to wash your crust pants. Sometimes they need that. Thanks. Bye.